On the marvellous Speakers Forum, we have the extraordinary one-man art activist and generally fantastically good bloke called Neil Goodwin, who will describe to you how he fought the law twice and won. So Neil, over to you.
Well done, Neil.
Can you hear me okay? Everybody? A bit closer, a bit further up, a bit closer a bit closer to my mouth, is that right? Sorry.
Big up, Neil.
That's better. Is that okay?
That's
clear,
good.
isn't it?
That's good.
So, yeah.
Shall I start with the
What was I doing in Parliament?
So Neil, one fine day last summer, I understand that you went up to London town
Yeah,
to the Houses of Parliament
that's right.
on a Wednesday lunchtime.
Yes.
Could you perhaps explain to us why and how you came to do that?
Okay. In terms of the day, it was the 19th of July 2023, exactly a year on from the hottest day ever in England, which was 40-degree temperature, which we'd never experienced before, including wildfire that destroyed 4 houses in Wennington in East London. A sort of taste of things to come with regards to our changing climate. So I went up basically as a disabled person because I'd heard about this thing called a climate emergency. I wanted to know what it meant in real terms for real people, as in, okay, we've got this thing called climate emergency. What are the contingency plans? What are you going to do for the people? Yeah, because you know it's all set out in the Paris Agreement that there has to be contingency plans. You know, particularly for disabled people and vulnerable groups such as the elderly. Yeah. So I then heard that prior to my action, I heard that the government were going for new oil and gas licenses, the Rosebank licenses, and thank you. Sorry, I slowed down a bit. And in effect, was tearing up net zero, was tearing up the Paris Agreement, which was being fought, which was a miracle. I mean, let's face it, so many nations involved actually coming up with an agreement on something that's very, very complicated. It took so many years, and yet this government had ripped it up. Didn't mean anything. Everything within it was undermined, particularly certainly the contingency plans that were stipulated, or the call for contingency plans for disabled people and the vulnerable. So I went up on the anniversary of the 40-degree heat on the 19th of July. My desire was basically, I went up on my mobility scooter. I dressed up my mobility scooter with... Oh, where is it gone? Excuse me. Yeah, thank you. Basket, please. So this is my flaming basket. Oh. And the front of my mobility scooter, I made it look like it was on fire. And my role was basically, and with this symbol on the front, which is a disabled person caught between a wildfire and a flood. And the idea was to block the carriage gateway, which is the main gateway where, you know, politicians, particularly the Prime Minister, would leave via that gateway. I'd actually seen him go out through there, and hello. I'd actually seen him go out there, and I knew that if you block the gateway at a certain time, when his convoy is just lining up to leave, then basically you're holding him to account. You actually, if you've got a flaming basket, you're actually, you know, holding him to account, implicating him in the situation. So that's what I did. I blocked the carriage gateway. I dressed up my mobility scooter so it looked like it was on fire. The idea being that I would say to a police officer that approached me to look at it not so much as the possibility of arrest, but more rescue from my mobility scooter. So if I was taken away to a van, I would literally be evacuated. So that's what happened. The police officer came up to me and said, "You're blocking the entrance. Can you please move?" I explained to him that sorry, it says get on my ground.
I know, but I do think it's important to point out that Neil was also holding one of his wonderful homemade placards. Sorry, that might be me. Was holding one of his wonderful homemade placards which said, "I cannot run from a climate emergency."
That's what it is. Either run literally or run from my, as I see it, as an activist, my obligation to basically highlight what was going on. Is that me?
No. I think you need your microphone. The microphone slipped down again.
What happened?
The microphone.
So that's on and off. That's on and off.
Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, is it my
No, it's me.
It's nothing to do with my hip, is it? Or my dentures? Or it seems to be when I open my mouth in a certain way. Maybe it's you, Saskia.
I know.
It's when you put it next to your beer, it goes.
No, it's off now. That should be okay.
Oh, okay, where was I? Oh yeah, so this policeman came up to me and said, "You've got to move." I said to him, "Turn your body cam on, please, and I will basically give you a safety announcement and let you know exactly what's wrong with me," which is basically I've got AS, which means I've got a completely fused lower back and neck, also a right hip replacement, and I've got MS, so I'm completely lame on my right leg side, so I can't walk anymore. So he was left in unknown circumstances in terms of how difficult it was going to be to move me. So like I said, please don't see it as not so much as an arrest, but you saving me and a lesson in your preparedness that and under a climate emergency you might be thrown into the front line of environmental disaster where you have to kind of rescue people at a moment's notice, and that's what I was trying to imply by my actions. The police officer said to me, "Look mate, if you were in a burning building, I would throw you over my shoulder and carry you out like quite gung-ho." And I said to him, "Well, I've got a completely fused lower back and also neck, and if you threw me over your shoulder, it would be a bit like throwing a 16-stone ironing board over your shoulder, and you'd probably drop me and break my neck or kill me in the process." So he was held back by that. They didn't want to touch me. No one wanted to touch me. I didn't have to lock on. I didn't have to glue myself to anything, or I just had to be basically so I just sat there for a couple of hours.
Or a mission, someone said to me the other day.
You're right.
Yeah. So as I understand it, Neil, when you say the carriage gates, you mean that bit where the MPs drive in and out of the House of Parliament, don't you?
Yeah, that's right.
And you were sort of on the bit in between the pavements, so not actually in the road, is that right?
Yeah, it's called a sterile zone, and it's special. There's special places like outside Downing Street where you can't protest. If the policeman says please move on, the policeman says please move on, you have to move on, unless you've got a reasonable excuse to be there. It's to protect entrances like at Downing Street and the main entrance into one carriage entrance. Yeah.
So as I understand it, the policeman had to tell you something about whether you would move or be arrested and what would happen.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, as I say, this is a bit weird. So, is it alright? It slipped down a bit. It's like going for my chin. I'm going to go down like this. Oh, that's okay. Ooh. Right. So yeah, partly my action was designed to get arrested, not just as a sort of a demonstration of preparedness, but also to explore how prepared the police service is in London to arrest someone like me and process me in a kind of suitable and kind of, you know, could they handle someone like me basically in a cell? Have they got suitable cells and all the rest of it, you know? As it turned out, they've got one van where they can transport you. It's called Pixie One, which was at that point transferring some Just Stop oil. They'd kind of like used it to transport some Just Stop oil protesters to, I think, somewhere West London or something, yeah. So they didn't have the one van that they could transport me in, which had a winch. So I had to sit there for 2 hours. While I think in other situations they've actually tried to commandeer taxis and, you know, stop taxis on the street and said, do you mind taking this guy to wherever, Charing Cross police station? The taxi driver says no. So, quite rightly, no. Oh, go on, please. We've only got the one van and it's on its way to Hounslow. Can you please, you know? So I'm there for a good 2 hours while they're working out how to get me to the police station. So again, I felt like frail, you know, but at the same time, kind of like very powerful in a way, you know, like almost like your frailty becomes like a superpower, you know, holding the police to account. They couldn't touch me. I didn't have to lock on. I didn't have to glue myself to anything. So, yeah. And at the end of the process, the police said to me, look, we can't get a van. You're going to have to be here for at least another 2 hours while we get you sorted. I'd been there for like 4 hours already. So I thought, well, and he said, listen, can you just arrest me so I can have my day in court? And he said, okay, we'll arrest you and then, you know, we'll let you go on your way, yeah.
And I think they said to you, what would you do if you arrest me? And you said, well, if you arrest me, I'll move and go and talk to my mates. I understand.
That's right, yeah. So I did. But having gone through that process, I kind of realised, well, I haven't really achieved one of my objectives, which was to basically experience what it was like to be properly processed by the police. Yeah.